Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Monson Steve. We're rolling out. You are watching The Director's Chair. Now, Dallas is clearly one of the special directors in Hollywood. Clearly has a vision for us. I really appreciate you, Dallas, coming on The Director's Chair. What's going on, man?
Oh man, it's all love, man. I appreciate you having me on, and this is a big deal for me, so I appreciate the honor.
When you think about directors, who are your top two directors that ever motivated you to think about this practice of being a director, and for you, director-writer?
Wow. My top two, that's a hard choice to say, but I'm gonna
Well, we
say,
just go black. We're rolling out. We'll just start with black so that we
yeah.
won't get too caught up in that whole diaspora of black excellence, which is what I'm all about right now at this moment.
I'm gonna give you the first, I'm gonna give you what you asked for, then I'll give you the black version. But the most important influences, I would say, are just in my personal life would be George Lucas and Robert Townsend, in no particular order. Just the impact of me as a kid with Star Wars, and like being able to dream that big, and then going to see Hollywood Shuffle with my father, maybe like 8th grade or something, and seeing my pops laugh. Never really saw him laugh before, not in the movie theater. And knowing the legend of Robert Townsend, like going to make that movie on his credit card, and him doing it like on the fly, and just all of that was like, oh, okay, you can do that and it could be good and all that. So those two, for me, are like the two in my life. So, but I could definitely give you like the, my top two. Black would definitely be, or three, I would say, is Sidney Poitier as a director, Robert, and it's a little bit of a toss up with Spike, and I'm a little partial to Mario Van Peebles just because I love New Jack City. I just went to see the play, Guilty Pleasure Sunday, New Jack City the play, which we could talk about on another day.
Well, guilty pleasures are part of the creative process.
Yes, sir.
You got to continue to have those. So for a young hustler who was truly thinking about the film game as a career, why be a director at all?
I mean, look, I did not, how do I say this? I had always dreamed about being in the movie and TV business. I was a kid. I started out doing stand-up till I went to college. I even did stand-up a little bit in college at Howard. And initially, that's what I thought I was going to do. And my mama was like, no, you going to college. And my pops was like, okay. When I got into Howard, we were like, okay. And then I thought once I got out of Howard, I would continue doing stand-up, but I majored in TV and film at Howard, and I got enlightened to screenwriting and just writing. I had done writing in high school, creative writing, whatever, but at Howard, I wrote for the newspaper. I took a screenwriting class. I started writing on my own, and I actually enjoyed all of them. And so I'd made the conscious choice that I was going to move to LA and figure out how to get into writing. The directing part of it came once some of the success of writing came along, and I met John Singleton, who we did a show called Rebel together. And in that process, he molded me into a director, made me shadow him, take notes, because he knew I was a good writer, or at least that was his words. And, there's no reason I shouldn't be directing. And I would say, going back, Singleton is definitely in that top 5. But impact-wise in my life later on as a writer, he's number 1, because he transformed my career by putting that battery in my back to be a director.
Well, when you say that, for people that have no idea and they're going to, they want to start out directing, how important is it to have a mentor like that, someone who puts that battery in your back, going to give you honest dialogue about your creative process, just to make sure that you always have that fire when you're ready and called to move. What was that like, and what conversation do you remember that sometimes you're like, John, can you stop talking to me? Like,
he was fun to talk to, man. So I never told him to leave me alone, but he was definitely a coach and in a sense, a cheerleader for creatives. And the one thing he always doubled down on is that you have to write your own material if you're going to make a way in this business as a person of color. And when I went back and looked at like everybody that was successful, whether it was Spike or Keenan, or like I mentioned, George Lucas or Spielberg, they all wrote first, and that has bled into our community of Black entertainment, of people of success that paved their own way. They wrote their own material. Even Tarantino, writes his own material that gives him the ability to say, I want to direct this. Even Stallone, directed Rocky, and they offered him like $500,000 to just leave the script to another director. And he was like, nah, I directed or nothing. So that was the thing that John kind of, really encouraged. He's like, you're already a writer. And that's the part that is taking the vision, taking the script, taking the idea, bringing it to life. So you might as well see it all the way home. It's like, why are you handing off your scripts? And at this point, I was selling scripts to studios, and I had made one independent movie called Uncle P with Master P, who kind of showed me how a movie gets made. But John was saying, you're writing these scripts. I'd sold a dozen scripts to studios. Why are you handing them off? You should take one and demand that you're going to direct it, or at least, make the effort to direct it. And, we would always talk about movies we liked and scenes we liked. And, his whole thing was borrow from other artists. If this scene applies to your scene, what do you like about that scene, and use it in yours, So he was just there dropping, Yoda knowledge on me. And I was soaking it up. And then I had a meeting with Blumhouse, with the president of Blumhouse, who they do Get Out. And this is before Get Out, it came out. And they basically had read one of my scripts and said, what do you have that you can direct? And so when that opportunity came, and the movie ended up being this film I did called Thriller for them, the first person I went to was John. I said, do you think I'm ready? And he was like, man, what you been following me for around for a year? Let's go do this. And I asked him to be a producer on the movie, and he's like, nah, because I'm not giving you no crutch. They asked you to do it. They're giving you the money. And I was like, come on, man, I'll get you to put some money in your pocket. You could just be there. I could lean on you. And he was like, nah. And that was one of the greatest things that happened, man, was me being able to shadow and follow him on our own show of becoming friends, and taking all that and applying it to my first movie. And he came to set anyway. He came to set to check on me damn near every other day. He just wasn't gonna, make it official. He wasn't gonna make it easy for me to make that transition.
So when you think about that as a writer, share your process. Like idea to paper to character development, some of those things that a young person who's there at HU, or a young girl at Spelman or Fisk or any of those great institutions, and obviously the kids at USC, but just you're there, how should they approach their idea of beginning to write a script and think about the fact that they really can do it?
Yeah, well, I say the first thing is to have the tools. So if you have a good movie idea, or you think something is a good movie idea, you need to have this book right here, which I keep nearby all the time, The Writer's Journey, by Robert or Christopher Vogler. And there's like 7 editions now. You get the first, second, anyone. It just tells you what you need to have in your screenplay and how to break it down from story to script, first act, second act, third act. So you need to have the tools to do that. And the second thing is to get Final Draft, which is screenwriting software, that you can start to put your idea into the software, and it'll translate it into a script for you. But those two tools right there, that book in particular, I had that from the first script I sold. And the first script I sold was a romantic comedy called Scary Dates. When I had the idea of basically about a guy going on a string of like borderline horror movie dates, I just started writing down the ideas, the story, these couple stories within the story, and what the movie was from beginning to end, just like I was telling it to somebody, and I think that's the part that takes the mystery away. You write down your idea, just like you went to the movies and said, hey man, what was Black Panther about? Well, it's his brother, he lives in this place called Wakanda, his family is royalty, and he protects the kingdom, and he's got this super suit. The same way you telling somebody how you watch that movie is your idea on that paper. You just writing down what you think that version of the movie is. And then for me, I always go watch at least 6 or 7 movies in the vein of the movie idea I'm thinking of. So if it's an action movie, I'm gonna go watch some action movies that I think close to my idea. If it's a buddy movie, I'm gonna go rent Bad Boys and Lethal Weapon and Friday and all that, and try to go hone in on some buddy movie ideas for my idea. If it's a horror movie, and depending upon the genre of the horror movie, I'm gonna go rent Chucky and The Exorcist or whatever, and try to hone in on what that is for my idea. So I always start by writing down the idea, then I go watch a bunch of movies that I think might be close to my movie so that I can glean some ideas. And then I go write the final draft and start writing the treatment, which is, the official story beginning to end. I might write it down on yellow pad, and then at some point, I'm gonna go put it in final draft, because once I start putting it in final draft, I can start turning it into a script and adding dialogue and adding little scenes and adding interior and exterior and cut to and all that stuff. And so that's my process. It goes from writing down the idea on a yellow piece of paper, looking up the formula for what it is on this, going to rent the movies that I think are close to mine, and then start translating it into final draft. And if you dedicate 2 hours a day to your idea, from idea to script, in 30 days, you'll have a first draft. Might not be good, but if you take 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 hours each day, just to do 2 or 3 pages, or just take 2 hours a day to do 2 pages, 3 pages. You take 1 month, you have 90 pages. That's a script. You can start playing with that.
Well, thanks for that. But talk about, working with complicated actors, because I
What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
There's a guy that it's rumored he never comes out of character on a set, but when you think of Terrence Howard, and literally a true actor, with the system, where I really enjoyed the look and the feel, but more than anything,
Thank you.
it was, 'cause I'm into action movies, so the fact that we finally got one from a brother is like, Hollywood, now give us 20 more, and
Yeah.
it wasn't the normal drug scene. And
Yeah.
what were the high points for you in making that? And then how did you share with the audience your vision in a moving tale that you want brothers that see that to understand what you're communicating to them about, trouble in the story?
Yeah, well, to go back to your first question, Terrence and Tyrese have their own methods and processes, but both were fantastic. And Terrence in particular, you might hear something about an actor or whatever. It's like you might hear something at school about a bully or whatever until you interact with that person, and then you go, okay, that's not the person that I thought it was going to be or whatever. And Terrence was just that person. He was fantastic. He was gracious on set. He hung out even when he didn't have scenes to do. We would chop it up and talk about other things other than that movie at hand, but also since we were in a real prison when we shot, we would talk to the prisoners. He would share with them. And so that to me was a eye-opener to what kind of actor and person he was. And I've worked with difficult actors, and I think you just kind of have to take that with zen and just pretend like you don't even see that. Because if you let their special ways or things that they want to do to try to intimidate or annoy or be a diva about, you just feeding into it if you respond to it. So I try to just be super zen about it. I think that's the way you get through it. And this movie for me was an opportunity to say something and wrapped around an action movie. And I think my guys in the movie, Tyrese, Terrence, even Jeremy Piven, understood that. They were like, oh, he's not just making some beat up everybody every 10 minutes and makes no sense, but there's like a story here, and there's like cultural things we're touching on and things that are happening in society. And they understood that. And I think that's why they were willing to give me a little extra when I need it. Can I get one more take? Can you do it like this for me? Can you trust me when I ask you just to do this? And they did that for me. And then in the end process, we were all happy. It is an independent movie. So, to your point about Hollywood, is like we had to kind of do that outside the system, no pun intended, and then get it in the system. And nowadays, 10 years ago, that movie would have been on 2,000 screens in the movie theater because of the movie stars I had in it. And just the movie is quality. But now it's, they're making money on demand. They're making money on Netflix. They're making money, when you sell it to a network. So we're in that mode of an independent movie. And it's fun. I mean, I'm not mad at it because we got to make the movie we wanted to make. Nobody gave us notes. Nobody told me, hey, you got to reshoot this. It's not working. Nobody told me I had to take out the black stuff, meaning like the messages for us. So I would stay in that lane. I try to get my paper up a little bit more in an independent movie, but you can make an independent movie, pay your actors well, and make the movie you want. It may be a little harder, but it's just as hard as getting a studio movie made as well. So I'm happy with the results of what we did with this movie, and everybody that came to Rock. Everybody's super proud of it. So we're going to continue to keep it going.
Yeah, I really appreciate Terrence, period, as an actor in Hollywood. So with me, it's not so much as difficult, but he's really there to be an actor. At the end of the day, this is his trade, and I like that about him. So seeing him,
he's when you go look at his body of work, it's amazing. It's amazing. And for me, I'm sitting there, looking at him like, damn, that's DJ. You know what I'm saying? I still watch Hustle. If Hustle and Flow's on, I'm watching it. As long as it's not the commercial where we got to take a TV break, but if it's on cable or whatever, I'm watching Hustle and Flow. I was watching Dead Presidents the other day and was like, oh man, this one you kind of first was like, who's that cat?
right?
So his body of work is amazing. And, sometimes you get to meet legends and they actually turn out to be super cool. And that was the case. And I've met legends that turned out to be some assholes too.
Right.
You can bleep that out.
When you no, we leave it in. It's just true. I think the Zen approach and actual giving cultural nuances, but how is killing the game? I mean, y'all are really rocking a lot of truth. I like what's coming out of Howard in terms of people really see it. What is it about being a director that once you've made your film, what kind of confidence now that you've made more than one? What's it feel like when you're thinking about your next process and now your next film? Because obviously you don't make a film and then stop and say, never want to do that again. How do you feel now that you've got the system, you've got a good example of what it is that you want to say? And what is that, if you had to describe and so make something up, that Spielberg, Robert Townsend movie that you think just hasn't been made for Black people yet? Like they haven't let us tell this story.
Yeah, well, look, my confidence is building. I'm still hungry. If you put your plate in front of me, I'll eat it right now. So, I'm hungry, bro. But I'm learning how to execute and get the movie, the things during production that I need. I'm learning what that is and how to get that done. Which, for me, I'm trying to do my next movie with RZA, keep the trajectory of going up, not necessarily budget wise, but just the trajectory of doing good movies, putting points up on the board. I still don't feel like, Netflix is calling me saying, here's a check, go do what you want. But I'm gonna continue to take these opportunities that are given to me to write and direct. And those have started and haven't, I won't say they haven't stopped. COVID slowed some things down, but the opportunities are coming back. So there's that. And then, I'm doing genre movies. I'm doing action, sci-fi, or horror. Those are my three lanes that I like to stay in. I can say something in each of them. I can get a good story in each of them. Those are the things I was attracted to as a kid. Those are the type of movies I'm writing now. And so then those are the movies that we need. When I was going to the video store as a kid, a lot of stuff I was renting, we weren't in it. Sci-fi movies, martial art movies, and if we were in it, it's the same one I had to watch Enter the Dragon 25 times. I watched Alien 100 times because Yaphet Kotto's in it. That was just weird, crazy. Like, damn, Brothers in Space in a horror movie. I watched Yaphet Kotto in that movie so much I knew that brother's lines. But like, those are the type of things that I enjoy watching. So those are the type of movies I will continue to write and direct. This next movie I'm gonna do with RZA is a ninja movie, but it's got a spin on it. And we're doing it with a brother as a ninja. So, and that I want to continue to just kind of do wild things that make me go, I want to see that. And I think that's what we've been suppressed, with our imagination sometimes in movies and TV. You keep seeing these slave movies, you keep seeing these pimp movies, you keep seeing these drug dealers on network TV, because that's kind of what they feel like we're regulated to, and that's not, you won't see that from me, unless it's a villain or something. But my imagination is not suppressed, so I'm trying to go as big as I can think. And that's where I am, because that's what we need. We need more sci-fi movies. We need more action movies. We need more horror movies with us in them.
Cool. Well, brother, I appreciate it. You dropped a gem, and I just want to make sure people really got it. Why should you have a lane? You said, here are my 3 lanes. As a director, why should you have a lane?
Well, I don't want to put anybody in a box, because I feel like that's another thing we do, is that person just does romantic comedies, or that person just does, karate movies, or that person just does whatever. But I think there's 2 sides of the coin. Spike is a great example of like somebody who's done a lot of different things, and Spike's stuff is really good. Like Spike rarely misses, because he's got his flavor. He puts his flavor into everything he does. And I think for me, those are the movies that I gravitate to. So those are the movies that I want to create. Some people venture out the box to do, a period piece. or a romance, but they're known for action movies or whatever. I just think for me, it's I'm trying to create a purpose in my brand. You know, I'm creating a brand of DJ Classicz, but in that brand is a purpose, and the purpose is to create genre movies for us because we, like I said, we need those. So I'm trying to reflect that brand in my movies. So I'm going to stay in that lane because that's where I think I'm going to be successful and doing more. And I think sometimes if you're not successful in one area and you go to another area and you're not successful there either, it's hard for people to figure out what it is and who you are, what your voice is.
Well, boom, that was the gem. I want people I think it's important that people understand where you're coming from. In the film, it's like, get to it. What was it? What was the film? You know, if it's a karate movie, okay, at least I can go down karate lane with you. And I think we people miss that. Is that a rom-com? Help us at least get the lens so we can focus in with you and kind of like ideate on what that is. We can't go from a period piece and then, you know, you may not be able to do what Robert was able to do with Hollywood Show. That's a whole genius move. You may not feel those kind of ideas, and I think that the need that you're talking about is also a blue ocean strategy. It's a great ocean for the imagination of young people that want to see themselves in a different ideology that Hollywood hadn't thought of, that this Howard graduate literally knows, this is in your DNA, and I'm gonna give you what's in your DNA because you really wanted to understand it. Life was better, and I'm gonna give you a taste of that. But you can see some real hard lands on the concrete. You can see some great fights, but you can also know that a dad will do whatever for his child.
That's the movie right there. But yeah, I mean, look, and I try to, you know, I try to put a little something into everything I do, a little positive message, or, you know, some kind of cautionary tale or something inside, a little bit of sugar inside the medicine, you know, or vice versa.
Right.
Because sometimes people just make stuff just to make it. A lot of white filmmakers just get to make stuff. It ain't saying nothing. It's just like, you know, eating an air biscuit. But I don't want to hit you in the head with it either, because at the end of the day, I'm here to entertain. You know, I'm here to have you come out the theater and feel a certain way, or doing kung fu, or talking about the movie or something. But I also hope that you would get a little bit of a message, like a Black father will go to hell and back for his daughter. You know, the private prison system is corrupt. There are brothers out there that are willing to work together to help each other reach a certain point of freedom. You know, there's things that I'm trying to just plant for us and for these kids that might watch it. And I made that movie, The System, so teens can watch it. You know, I didn't get into rape and all that. Matter of fact, I shut that down right away, and why that's not happening here. But you know, if your mom and dad can get past some bad words, it's worse for teenagers to sit down and watch that movie, so they know this ain't it.
And The System is run by a Howard graduate who really was thinking about the Black family's existence and how there is love in our community that may be absent from your television screen tonight. So why not watch a little action love at the same time? So I think that's key. Last question for those, if you just finished the sentence. Being a director has changed my life by?
Being a director has changed my life by allowing me to change other people's lives. I've been able to hire people that's been their first time in a movie. I've been able to hire Black hair and makeup, Black first ADs, Black PAs. And some of them, that was their first opportunity on a movie. I've been able to give people an opportunity that go from our little TV show on BET to starring in her own show on NBC right now, never did TV before that. You know, so we've been able to, the thing about my journey has now looking back and going, we were able to change some other people's lives too. And to me, that's powerful. You know, being able to hire people is powerful. Being able to be the boss is powerful. And depending upon what kind of boss you are, you could be blessed for it, or you could be cursed. You know, you could be that boss that nobody likes, that wants to, you know, pee in your tea. I'm not that boss. You know, I try to treat everybody the same. And that was something Singleton, you know, really installed in me. And like, you the director, everybody's looking to you for leadership, and you the boss. So you treat the PA, the caterer, the star of your movie, the first AD, the guy holding the lights, the dude driving everybody around, you treat them all the same, because they're all here for you. And if they like you, and if you treat them fairly, they'll work harder for you. If you're an asshole and yell at them, they ain't gonna do nothing but wait till they can't get off, you know, and dread coming back the next day. So that's something that I've really taken to heart about this director gig. And really, hopefully, I've had people say, you know, that was one of the best experiences I've had on set. Hopefully can keep that going. So being a director has been able to be a blessing to others. And in turn, that's been a blessing to me, because I keep getting a chance to make movies, at least so far.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Munson Steed in Dallas at the director's chair here on Rolling Out Star Studios. We appreciate it, Dallas. Congratulations on the system. Looking forward to catching you and RZA with the next movie. Very proud of you. HBCU love forever. And for all you out there, support Dallas. But all you budding directors, watch this and watch it again. He dropped the gems, he dropped the books, and he said you can do it. More than anything else in the world, takeaway, he demonstrated and shared just how you can direct your life and your dreams today. I'm Munson Steed here on the director's chair. Peace.
Peace. Thank you for having me, bro.